DJJS1 wrote, quote, "When we were younger and listened to Kane, KRS, Rakim, G-Rap, Ace, Craig G, EPMD, PE, etc., they were our age or close to it. As they aged, some allowed their content to mature, which still speaks to us. Many couldn't, and the drugs, guns, and false threats subjects material is more prevalent now than ever." Craig G's new project that just dropped September 4th, 2020, The Fragile Ego, is such a much-needed display of honest, mature, and thought-out material that would not be easy for many macho egomaniacs we all know. And with that, Craig G, welcome to the Library with Tim Einenkel. Thank you so much for being here.
What's good, brother?
Thank you, man. So, you know, before I ask you about the album and the life changes, I actually have one kind of musical question, and it's something that like stood out when I was watching an interview with Rakim and Chuck D. Rakim talked about jazz and how jazz made him like a better MC because he kind of learned about music and time and space through that. So I was actually always wanted to ask you this: was there ever, or is there a type of music, a genre of music that kind of made you a better MC?
Well, it's weird that you use this particular intro because I almost got wrapped up in a debate with a guy who said he doesn't think I pick good beats and this one is the same way. Although at the end of the whole conversation, he proceeded to put up a YouTube link of his old beats.
Right.
But what I realize is that, you know, it's not a particular genre. I just like all kinds of music. You know, and if to appreciate all kinds of music will make you a better MC. That's how I see it. I'm a huge fan of 80s pop.
Right.
I love Tears for Fears and Hall and Oates and Depeche Mode, and I just like good music, man. And I believe that is what makes me a better MC, because you can get some great ideas from different genres of music, you know? And to be honest with you, this project was inspired not even really by hip hop. Like, you know, a lot of, I guess the word is alternative rock, is very honest.
Mm-hmm.
There's no posturing or anything like that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're open about their feelings on a song. So to me, like I said, it's not just one particular. I agree with Rakim as far as jazz goes, but it's not just one particular genre. I like all kind of music. I do hip hop all day long. So I don't want to go home and listen to hip hop.
Right.
I love it, but my ear palette is different. I like to listen to different stuff. So yeah, I mean, I agree 100%, but it's just not relegated to one genre, you know?
Right. It's funny. Like, I do podcasting all day long, and the last thing I want to do is go home and listen to podcasting. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I want to turn to the album because I think, you know, it says a lot about not just about your music, but obviously about where you are in your life right now, because you are a real person. You're not just an artist. You know, you're a human who have feelings and everything like that.
Yes.
You listen to it, and it shoots honesty. It says that. It tells us that there's so much that has changed in your life, not just as an artist, but personally. You know, I know that I was going to ask you, is that true? And that obviously is true. But what have these significant changes been? And kind of when did you start seeing or realizing that you were going to have to make these changes?
Honestly, it started maybe the beginning of 2019, but I still was kind of stuck in what I wanted to do, because I've done music for 35 years. I've never done anything else. But, you know, I was in kind of a tumultuous relationship where, you know, things were good, things were bad. And not just that, you know, I'm getting closer to 50 years old. You know, I'm not 50 yet. I'm younger than most people think I am, but I'm not 50 yet. But I'm getting closer to there. And I just started thinking about where my life has been and where it's headed. And, you know, it just started to really weigh on me. Like, you know, I want to be able to say I accomplished something else in my life besides something I've been doing since I was a kid. And, I was still in the relationship and it was, back and forth, back and forth. And then in January, it started to get a little more worse or whatever. And, we were still working it out. But that's when I kind of really decided, like, yo, okay, Craig, it's time to do something different. And to put it in layman's terms, it's basically this. I have been in a business where people try to take advantage of you at every turn. So you have to speak to people a certain way. You have to, have this certain attitude. And I've had that attitude with everyone in my life because that's the only attitude I knew. And I feel like this is what I've been saying like for the past 2 months. I wanted to do something different to be able to save Craig from Craig G.
Right. Oh wow.
Because I've never ever really have lived as just Craig ever. And it's not a good thing, So this is why I decided to start making some changes in my life. And it, right now it feels really good because it really feels good to accomplish something that I don't do so effortlessly. I'm learning new things and it's very exciting to me.
I mean, would this be for you, is this more personal or changes versus, or career changes, or not even, I guess not even career changes, because I think once you're never going to fully quit hip hop, right?
No, not at all.
Is it something, what kind of personal changes or career changes are you, not even career, what are you trying to do in terms of...
Well, I'm currently in school to be in the health field, and I'm in my second week of school. And, basically, this business for everyone, mind you, and I'm not just singling me out, there's a whole series of ups and downs, and especially with COVID going on now and there's no live performances or what have you. What I wanted to do for once in my life is to not have to treat hip hop like my life depends on it.
Right.
So it's like a freedom. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what it is. And then on top of that, choosing the health field and, helping people out will humble me. And I believe everyone has to humble themselves at some time.
Right.
So this is where it's at with it. And like I said, it's just exciting to be learning some new stuff.
When you were did the life changes or personal changes that you started making, did that start before the creation of this album? Was it started during?
It started during. It started during. Like it was already on my mind when I started recording The Fragile Ego. It was already on my mind. And like I said, it just took another minute for me to decide what I wanted to do because I don't really have any other work experience. So I knew that I would have to go learn from scratch something. So, it was already on my mind. And not just career-wise, just in a personal growth-wise where it's like, the way you think like a rapper. And not everyone in your life is in the music business. Not everyone in your life are rappers.
Right.
So it already started there. You know what I mean? And, the stubbornness and the I think I know everything, nobody can tell me nothing type of attitude. When you're in the music business and you have fans and supporters, nobody really kind of tells you no.
Right.
And as a kid, it's even worse. You know what I mean? That's why you have so many child stars that wind up on the wrong side of life.
Right.
So, it started like these things were already in me. Like, this is not the only project I have. I have 3 other EPs done. One of them is mixed already. The other 2 need to be mixed. And just from the titles, one of them is called The Pen is Mightier. One is called Perfect People Scare Me. One is called Anytime is the Right Time. My mindset is changing. And also, as I jokingly tell some of my other music friends, I found my Achilles heel, which has probably not made me show my full potential, which was I needed to stop rapping about rap. I really did, because when you're rapping about rap and you're rapping about how great the music was before and how it's not now and how the industry is this and that, you're only speaking to a very small amount of people.
Right.
And what I noticed is when you speak about life experiences, people can relate to it. So that like all of that combination of things is what started to change me artistically. So
Can you take us into the studio sessions for this? I mean, I feel like, when you talk to someone about life changes or not really, quote unquote career changes, there's always that kind of chance of like, or this discussion of whether they or he or she should totally walk away, at least for a moment, from career A, right? Was there ever that? Were you ever in the studio sessions, or about to go in and realizing and these changes were happening to you, that you thought maybe you should just kind of take a break from this album, or was this like for you? For what it is, the end product is obviously this is incredible, honest project. Did you realize that, all right, this is the project that needs to be done, so I'm not going to walk away from it no matter what?
It's weird because the sessions and all of that were not like any spectacular story. Basically, my friend Fruition, who's the producer on the project, he's from Toronto. I never even met him personally. He's in his 20s. And it's weird because my DJ, I record at his house. He doesn't live too far from me. Mm-hmm. And when we're not recording, we're sports fans. We sit in the crib. We watch football, basketball, all that. I do my verse for hire jobs there, whatever. So one day we were watching the football game, and I'm sitting across the room from him, and he's a producer as well. Like, one of the projects I have is with him. And he's playing some remix on his phone from off of Instagram. And I look up and I'm like, yo, that beat is kind of dope right there. He's like, yeah, yo, this is this kid. I follow him. And when I go home, I guess our phones listen to us. The same thing came across my Instagram feed.
Wow.
So I click on the page and he's already following me. And I'm like, yo, man, that's really dope right there. Maybe send me a couple of beats and let's see what we can work on a project. So he sent me like 3 beats, and I kind of sat with him for a second. And then I had a really bad disagreement with someone in my life. Like, it was just really bad, like very stressful. And the next morning I wound up writing 3 of the songs in like an hour. Like, all these emotions just started coming out of me. And then from there, he sent me like 3 more beats, and then he sent me like 3 more. And my pen was just taking control of me, because it was like I'm letting out all these feelings. And it's like, you know what? This is really not like taking any effort, because I'm not speaking from a persona standpoint. I'm not speaking from some overblown ego standpoint. I'm basically just talking about the things that are going on in my life. Except for Dear Daddy. Dear Daddy is a whole nother story, because that song's technically not about me. I only have one son. So once I had him written, I kind of went in the studio. I think the NFL playoffs was on. Went to the studio, and I recorded all of them in about 2 hours. I didn't have to relay anything. I just went in the booth, and it just all came out.
Wow.
And what you hear, to me personally, just from the outside looking in, they're not incredible triple entendre lyric schemes or anything like that. What it is you hear the emotion. You can hear the emotion in every song. And I just let it all out, man. And it felt good. It was very therapeutic. for me.
And that's kind of like there's a DMX is one of DMX's first album. He has, I think, this great line that kind of sums up why this album speaks volumes. Your album speaks volumes to people, and why it's it's just sincere. And yeah, you're right. It doesn't have to be this like crazy wordplay that and because it does what it has to do. And he has this line that goes something like, "I just say what's in my heart, and you call it a style."
Yeah,
and that's kind of what you've done on this album. I feel like you've kind of just you were honest with everyone, and people are your fans and fans and people that might be your fan will hear that, and they kind of understand that this is an album.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this so long, and no one's ever heard this side of me.
Right. I actually want to talk about the music, the tracks. The first track, "Away From Me," is details of a relationship. A troubling one that you're in and out of. Can you not just talk about this track, but why is this the table setter, the first track of the album?
Because the project is the Fragile Ego. And, the overall thing with this project is interhuman relationships. And how complicated people make it when it shouldn't be. There's a lot of things that happen between people in any kind of relationship, friendship, whatever, where an honest conversation where you want to see things from both perspectives could fix almost anything. Right. And, with that particular song, I could have easily went the route where you're bashing the other person and all of this, but what I wanted to do, and this was part of my life of what happened. What I wanted to do was speak about how confusing it was for me. Mm-hmm. And you can hear it, It's not like, fuck you, and then it's like, I don't understand.
Right, yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are in that situation. And you have this thing now where no one wants to be told what to do. No one wants to have anything suggested to them what to do. No one wants to be honest with their own shortcomings. Everything is fine. Everyone, it's like this overconfident thing where what we keep forgetting is we're all human. We all have our stuff with us. And in this particular case, men and women, we will always, no matter what, I don't care how great your relationship is, you're going to see things from different perspectives because we think differently. But yet, people in relationships feel like, hey, we should be on the same page all the time. And the minute we're not, there's something wrong. That's not how it works. What you're supposed to do is say, okay, we're not on the same page as this. I don't think you hate me. I respect that you think differently about that. Let's come to a compromise. Let's meet in the middle. But apparently, sadly, that song is about a person who refuses to meet in the middle. So at the end, I'm like, I just want to leave.
Right.
Because you're taking me away from me. And in all matters of the heart, if you don't feel accepted as who you are, you're not going to be happy. Especially when the other person is demanding that from you.
Right.
So that's exactly what that song is about.
You mentioned how the writing was therapeutic for you, and you have I think a great in the track line, like you say, some work on the life that people see in the public, but never on their personal demons. They skip the subject. So you're obviously another powerful song, another powerful lyric, and I think I even tweeted at you saying like this is one of the most honest things I've ever heard from you.
Yeah.
So can you talk about the therapeutic part of it? I mean, when you're addressing these demons in your art, how is that helping you? How is that helping you personally?
Someone told me the other day, because it dropped Friday. Someone told me what I like about it most is that it doesn't feel like finger pointing. you know? And the reason why is because some of the stuff I'm talking about myself.
Right.
You know, like the line you just mentioned, I'm in therapy right now in real life because the music business has given me a mind state that sometimes is not the best when it comes to real life. So I have a therapist now and I'm in therapy. We do it on FaceTime and I'm like on my 7th session. So what it is again, people are chasing perfection. Everyone thinks they're perfect. Everyone thinks situations should be perfect. Everyone thinks life's supposed to be perfect, but it's not true.
No.
It's not true. Nothing is perfect. You ever heard the old adage, a man told God his plans and God laughed?
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, this is what I wanted to touch on. Like, listen, man, you know, all you could do is be the best version of you and take life as it comes.
I feel like as there's gaining more, and we're in New York City, right? So like, you know, you hear everyone and their mother talk about, and it's open to the public. You know, you could walk by someone, they're talking about how they're going to their therapy session, right?
Well, I don't know about in the hip hop community.
No, so that's my point. Yeah, that was my question. So, you know, you have, you know, a few years ago, you have Faramach does PTSD, right?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, not just about post-traumatic stress syndrome for military vets, but also for young black men and black women in their community, because it's stuff they see, the violence they see and stuff like that, and he tries to address that. I do feel like you have Royce da 5'9" talking about alcoholism and, you know, rehab and stuff like that, and Joel Ortiz. So I feel like there is more of a conversation being had about therapeutic type stuff in the hip hop community. Do you think it's do you still think it's kind of, I guess, hushed at, or I mean, can you have that? I mean, are you from the album drop Friday, are you finding more positive responses, I guess?
Well, I'm posting a bunch of responses on Instagram, and a lot of people are using the word therapeutic or therapy or what have you. And, you know, I feel like absolutely you'll have post-traumatic stress syndrome from the hood and all of that, but life can give it to you.
Right.
Life can give it to you. Life can give it to you, especially, like I said, when you think everything should be perfect and a mirror that things don't go your way, it could really depress you. And the first thing you have to learn, that I'm learning, is not everything's going to go your way. Not everything is going to work out the way you want it, no matter how much effort you put into it. That's just life. And what you have to do is learn, hey, you know, even though that didn't go my way, I woke up today. It's another chance to try to figure this out, as opposed to just getting in a funk about it or whatever. And I believe with COVID going on and a lot of loss happening as far as life and jobs and income and everything else, I do believe it's starting to be spoken about more. But what I do know is it's the best time ever for it to happen. It's the best time ever for it to happen. You know? So, look, I'm not knocking mainstream hip hop. That's not my thing anymore. But in the world we're living in at this current moment, I'm really not interested in how much money you're making or how many women you have or how many parties you at, because in the reality of the real world, that is not happening right now. You know?
Right.
We have damn near race wars with the police, all this political nonsense, all these people who's lost their jobs, their livelihoods, their businesses, or family members. It's a lot going on, and I just feel like right now is the perfect time to start addressing people in a real way, because there are real things going on.
I think one thing that's really kind of great about this album and our conversation is that it is it's us learning and kind of going with you on this journey that you're having of, not just changing as an artist, but also changing in your personal. And and you look at, every track of the album, and we're in a day of, like, we've been in a days for a few years now, but we're in a day that you have an album and there's 58,000 features on it. You have decided to kind of take this journey of life changes by only having one feature, and that's Masta Ace. Masta Ace, who continues to get better with time. So why Masta Ace for this journey? I mean, he's featured on the title track, The Factory Eco, but why him?
I'll be completely honest with you, and I've probably never even said this to him. Ace represents what I should have done. And I'll go into detail about this. Out of all the Juice Crew members, I kind of hung out with Masta Ace the most, besides Marley. And when I met Ace, Ace was just getting down. But when we went to do the symphony and shot the cover for In Control, Ace had just graduated college. So Ace didn't fully get into the music business until he finished his education. And he did all this. Now, I can say I should have done that or whatever, but, I was already in it, and I was like 15 years old.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I look at Ace as someone who, if I would have took that route, maybe I would have been happier in life. So when it came to, like you said, for one, this is a personal journey. This is about me. So I didn't want to convolute it with a whole bunch of features. Plus, I kept the project short. So, if I got 7 songs on the project, why do I need 5 features? But like I said, I chose Ace because Ace is a very intelligent person. He's very thought-provoking. He thinks about things. And with the subject matter, I thought, who better? And I called him up. And he was like, send it to me. And I sent it to him. And he was like, yo, this is dope. I got you. And a few weeks later, he was on the road, actually. And when he got back, he sent it to me. And I was like, perfect. But like I said, the reasoning behind Ace is because he represented something that if I would have done, I probably wouldn't have half of this stuff to talk about. You know what I mean? Because I was trapped in something since 12 years old. And, I never, ever in my life done anything but this. And it started to feel like a burden for me.
Always in the club, you ain't never getting sober. You took a selfie with your daughter friend. Tried to shoot your shot, but it ain't going in.
Are you kind of, with that response, are you kind of... do you wish you kind of did this type of project earlier in your career, or or do you feel like
I wish I did, but I had to go through this first to be able to do it.
Right, exactly. That's true.
So I had to go through it first. So to me, like I say in one of the songs, like my mother never raised a quitter. So to me, I feel like there is no set time for anything. You know what I mean? So it's like, probably would have been dope if I did it earlier, but I wasn't feeling like this earlier. I felt like I was good. Like the music business is good. This is what I'm going to do my whole life, and I'm good with that. But as you get older and your mind matures and things like that, it starts to not feel as good. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. And, you give the gift of music, and people like it, some people don't, whatever, but you're really not contributing to society.
Right.
You're just entertaining. And sure, that may contribute somewhat, but I just wanted to do something different, man. And I had to get to this point, I guess, to be able to be honest with myself about this material. I don't want to be a 50-year-old kid, man. Right.
And I want to, before we get into more tracks of the album, I kind of want to talk about doing this type of project and the maturity level of it in terms of as you Yeah, I mean, you become 50, you can't rap about going to a club and picking up 12,000 women and bringing them home, right?
That was never my thing anyway. But yeah, you can't.
Right. And so there has to be this mature. Looking at the rap music industry and longevity. I mean, is this for artists that you see, even younger artists who are good but are rapping about, I guess, quote unquote young man stuff or young women stuff, that are they going to, I mean, is this like a lesson that they could learn from you in terms of like a blueprint in terms of how to have longevity in this music industry versus just doing this for 2 years and then having to bounce because they have nothing else to write about?
Well, there's a handful of them that do it, but I would say that, first of all, you have to get rid of the stigma of, oh, this guy's been in this long, I'm not interested in what he has to say.
Right.
But the whole point of it was, again, not even just other artists, man. I just want people in life to understand that it's never too late to change course. Never. Mm-hmm. It's never too late to change course, man. It's never too late. But what I do know is, at my age, it could be one of the hardest things you could possibly do.
Right.
And no matter what anyone thinks, I have this great sense of pride in me now that I actually decided to do it, and now I'm actually doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people in their late 40s are stuck in their ways and they're good with it.
Right. And that's throughout. Yeah, I mean that's not just hip hop. That's throughout
throughout life. And usually what happens is when you get to that point, it's like there's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with everyone else.
Right.
And self-reflection is the hard thing to do, man, for some people. And it was even hard for me.
Speaking of a song that seems to be about self-reflection, the track "It's a Draw, Nobody Wins." That seems to be a conversation. For me, it was a conversation you're having with yourself. Was that the case?
"It's a Draw" was basically, like I just previously said, about, even though I kind of made it also about a relationship, it's really about, again, someone feeling like if you don't think like them, there's something wrong with you. I say it in the beginning, you might need to seek therapy. You don't think just like I do. It really worries me. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wow, again, we have this thing right now where different perspectives to some people is just poison.
Right.
It's like your opinion should be the only one that matters in a world full of billions of people. It's pretty sad.
Right.
So that's why I named it "It's a Draw." And when I put in parentheses, nobody wins. Nobody's winning. Compromise is a lost art, man. And why it is because for some people, it seems like weakness to them. Not cool, man. It's not cool.
Because also, if you give someone it's also those times you give someone your opinion, they automatically go into defensive mode, right?
Well, this is what it is. You have a whole bunch of narcissists calling you a narcissist.
Right, exactly.
It's like a defense mechanism. But I feel like this: if you can tell me what you think is wrong with me, I have every right to also tell you.
Right.
And when it gets to the point where I can't, but you think you can, still, I'm not gonna be comfortable around you. It's very much easier to point the finger outward than inward. Because it makes you feel like you don't have to think about your own shortcomings, like I said earlier. And I'm not using the word shortcomings as something derogatory or something belittling. We are humans. We all fall short in one way or another.
I want to talk about just move away for a little bit to talk about the importance of the scratch for you, especially on this album. There's so many examples on this album that you have someone just, I think it's Shy the Beat Yoga scratching it up, right?
He is a scientist, that guy.
What is this? You talk to Eddie DJ about the scratch, and it's just like there's no rock without guitars, like there's no hip hop without scratches, right?
Yeah.
For you, what is the kind of the importance of having the scratch, especially for this project, especially for what it's about?
To be honest with you, I felt like in the climate we're in, the content and the messages I'm speaking on may not seem too hip hop to people. So I felt like, if we add these scratches, it's going to draw them in where while they're listening to it and like, yo, this is hip hop, they'll actually get the messages as well. So that's what it was. As dope as they are, it was kind of a diversion tactic for me. Yeah.
That's awesome. The final track of the album, My Bad, is about you, because you say, I guess it's time to talk about myself.
Again, you can't point the finger outward if you can't point it inward.
What was the, I feel like it's really hard to write about yourself, especially in such a personal level. Like you could, it's if you're writing about yourself about how great you are, then that's one thing, right? Like, but you're pointing your finger at yourself. What was the writing process for you like for this? But also, why is this the final kind of this ends the album and this is what you leave your fans with?
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't talking to them. I was talking to people in my life. I was talking to people in my life. I was like sincerely apologizing for some of my behaviors, but at the same time explaining to them why they became that way. Not saying they were right, still saying they're wrong, but again, if you haven't walked a mile in my shoes and you just judge the behavior and not go, okay, I wonder why this is like this, you won't understand. And I take part in that because I've never spoken to anybody about some of the stuff that I've been through and how I felt about things. So, someone made a comment last night on the project. It was like, for one, it takes a lot to tell the whole world that you're sorry. And secondly, it also makes people understand you better, the way you explained it. One of my favorite lines in that song is when I say, started working on the next single, this one would be better. That hope is what I cling to. My hard work brought the same results. It left me feeling broken. I wasn't even an adult. So imagine having a song that didn't do as good as the first one when you're 14 years old.
Right.
You couldn't possibly imagine how mentally that can shape you. And then that's been my career. After that, we had the Symphony, Dropping Science, and then I talk about this also, how when I finally went to Atlantic Records and did the Kingpin, it was totally unfocused and rushed, and I didn't really have any input, and it was a terrible project. And I got a lot of shit for it, which was well deserved, but I was 16.
Right.
And this is a lot of stuff to deal with at that age, man. I shouldn't even have been thinking about any of that. So that's what that song was about, basically. Just, look, man, I'm sorry, and it was wrong, but let me give you some insight on why the attitude was that way. And maybe, just maybe, instead of it being personal for you, like, oh, this guy was an asshole or this, that, and the third, you'll go, damn, I didn't know that. I understand. Because
it's interesting because from a I guess a fan point of view, right? You see like all your accomplishments, and then I'm 41, and I'm like, wow, Greg did a lot, and you're like, he did all this by the age of 16. What the heck am I doing with my life? But then you also don't, I think a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, to your point, it's just like you don't get a chance to grow up.
No, I never had, and that's what all of the changes personally for me is now. And though it's so late in years wise, I still feel like it's something I had to do to save my own sanity. I wasn't going crazy or anything like that. I'm just saying that my warped perspective of life came from not having a normal childhood, you know? And, this is why I'm making these decisions now, basically.
Was there ever a time in? Did you ever have I guess a mentor that kind of warned you about this, and you just weren't at the position to listen to him or her, or was that just not something that was happening in hip hop?
I'll be honest with you, my family was trying to, but I have a son, and it's really hard to try to tell someone how to live their life. It really is. And especially when you're young, I have a whole bunch of money. I'm not trying to hear none of y'all. I got this. I moved into my first apartment when I was 17.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, So I wasn't trying to hear any of it. So, I mean, music business-wise, I didn't. And I think that's a terrible thing. I think that there should be more mentoring. I just wrote a verse for something that we were going to do that got canceled, where I say at the end of it, I think these record deals should include some form of therapy, especially for younger artists. Yeah. Because you're not really even mentally prepared for life. And no matter what happens in this entertainment business, there are only, I could probably count on one finger, people who are going to have one continuous level of success. It doesn't work that way. It's up and downs. The fans love you one day, they hate you the next. And at a certain age, that's really hard to deal with if you don't have some sort of guidance or someone to talk to about these things. And that's why in the Narcissist theme song video, I'm in therapy. And at the end, I put that message up. Like, look, man, talk to friends, family. Look, man, it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And you have to be ready for it.
Do you think that's a conversation that will be had or going to be had in terms of working with younger artists or artists in general about, having a mentor system or a therapy system that...
I hope. I mean, I see a few younger artists speaking on it now, but I hope so. Because, look, not even just in the entertainment business, man. Right now, a lot of us aren't all right, man. But we're masking it because it's weakness. You would rather show that you're strong or show that you don't care or show that you're indifferent than actually, find the root of yourself and actually, instead of burying and ignoring it, recognizing it, attacking it, and changing it. Because at the end of the day, man, I don't care how much music sells. I don't care what I do. I just want to be happy, man. I just want to be happy. That's it.
So you mentioned the song "Dear Daddy" before, and I want to kind of break down how I wrote this question out to you.
Okay.
And I know you mentioned that "Dear Daddy" wasn't fully about it's not fully about you.
No, it's absolutely not about me at all. I mean, it's something I saw.
So I did. So admittedly, I thought it. So when Limelight came out, I was like, wow, this is the most honest thing. This is such an honest track, first track of and then admittedly, I was looking for I send music to Chuck D for "And You Don't Stop with Chuck D." And I was looking for songs that I could send to him. You have your songs from the Federico to him. So admittedly, I kind of went out of order in terms of what to hear. And, "Dear Daddy" popped up, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like kind of a play on like "Dear Mama,"
Yeah.
And then
what it is absolutely isn't.
No, I know. I just, just from like a name title standpoint.
Yeah.
And then I heard that "Dear Daddy," and prior to you telling me this, I thought it was like, wow, that's really, this is a crazy personal song.
Yeah.
So can you just, one, talk about the song, but also two, can you talk about you know, what did I do you think, did I lose anything by not going in order of the album? Like, you know, if I
Possibly. But I mean, it's all subjective, so I can't really say for sure. It's all subjective.
And then can you kind of talk about more about the track Dear Daddy, and like who's it about, and you know, how did
Dear
that come
Daddy, Dear Daddy is about a really good friend of mine whose daughter is like my goddaughter. And he was in a relationship with the mother, and the mother, this child now is almost 10 years old, and the mother is still very bitter, where the point where he tries to call her, he can't speak to her. The mother is putting all these ideas in the kid's head, and he's a good father. And recently, she relocated with the child, and a few years ago, and the child comes like to stay with him for like a month or so in the summer. And she loves me to death. So whenever she comes, he's like, "Yo, we got to go out to eat with her," because she wants to see you. And I just was listening to her talk. I was just listening to her talk, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy that you would purposely not let him speak to her when she calls. You would personally badmouth him because you're upset that the relationship didn't work out." And it's like, wow, like I say in the song, you're teaching hate to somebody who shouldn't even be learning that.
Right.
And kids are way smarter now. And they can sense bitterness. They can sense all of that now. And these are things adults should talk to other adults about. Like I said in the second verse, mommy really hates men. She tells me not to trust them, but I'm only 10. That's not something I need to be learning. So that's really what that song represents. Because I don't have any daughters. Like I said, I have one son. Unfortunately, me and his mother never really went through any crazy, custody or child support or visitation stuff. Sadly for me, I was on the road a lot, so I didn't get a lot of time to spend with my son.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
This album is Drop Friday. What is kind of for you? What has been the highlight in terms of feedback or comments from fans, but also from your peers?
That it's honest, and that it's thought provoking, and in some cases, it's therapeutic for the listener, and that's all I wanted to do. And also, in the selfish way, it's also like it kind of confirms the things you're going through. You're not alone in. So, I mean, a lot of people will never admit the stuff they're going through because you're not supposed to talk about your losses in such a braggadocious, bravado genre of music. So that's probably been the most exciting thing to me, is that it's resonating with people.
Are we, for you mentioned a couple other projects that you already have in the works or done. I mean, is this kind of
new theme? Yeah, I mean, on some of them, I still tackle rap and certain fake gangsters, but it's like one song. It's not like the whole project anymore. We're grown-ups, man, and we need to talk about grown-up things. The biggest problem with the genre of hip-hop is the powers that be never allowed it to mature.
Right.
And that's a sad thing, because people grow up, even the people that are young now, and what should be happening is the people who've been through certain things, it should be a template for them to understand what may or may not happen to them later on in life. Because if I had it, I probably wouldn't have went through most of the problems in my life. So,
and I mentioned, I think before this, I kind of bounced some of my questions off of JS1.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted me to ask you this last question. What are those sneakers? Diodoras?
What it was, see, that's a thing that we used to joke about where, someone would be overly excited about the industry to you. So we would be like, hey, what are those Pumas, to kind of try, like, sarcastically change the subject. So that's what we kind of did. Yeah. As evolved as I am, I probably will still do that. Sadly, not even sadly, happily, music for me now is secondary.
That's awesome.
I'm on to something new. Like I said, I'm not going to quit, but right now, it's not the main focus of my life like it's been for over 3 decades, because it hasn't made me happy. So the last thing I want someone to do is come up to me and excitedly talk about the new such and such album. I'm not interested, really. So what are those? What are those? Nikes? So, yeah, that's where that comes from. Shout out to JS1, man. I love that guy to death, man.
Yeah, man. It's a great, definitely a great guy. I mean, he's a Mets fan, but I can't, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting what you're saying about how now music will be, or rap would be kind of secondary to you, because I feel that it's by doing all this, doing these interviews with, not just you, but a bunch of hip hop artists, and even I interviewed Superstition a couple of weeks ago, and he talks about how his full-time job, he's a project manager, and he does rap when he gets home, but he doesn't feel like he's forcing it anymore. It's like he's not like you just said, you're not depending on it for your livelihood.
Yeah.
Which I think from a fan perspective creates more honest and legitimate art.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just have more fun with it now.
Right.
At the end of the day, every human on earth has the right to have another passion in life.
Right.
So as I speak to the fans and supporters, and even the ones that don't try to box me in. You're not going to like the conversation.
Right.
So I appreciate all of you, but at the end of the day, that's not my only passion anymore.
Right.
So allow me to have that, because like you said in the very beginning of this interview, I am still a human being.
So, of course, the new album is Fragile Ego. Greg G, thank you so much, as always, to be on the live with Tim Einenkel and taking this time.
Yes, sir, Tim, man. You already know, man. I appreciate it as well, man. Thank you so much.
Don't really have a filter. The crowd, I never chased it. My whole family says I'm antisocial. Don't like when I'm approached. I sure as hell won't approach you. Like, how did I become an artist that loves the rock crowds? These thoughts were always farthest from my mind. Just love to write rhymes. The dedication to that took up most of my time. I was feeding my creativity. Friends weren't important. There was nothing they could give to me. Back to this pen, paper, and nightlight. 3 a.m. scribbling words would get me hyped like. I can't wait for them to hear this. I hope they can relate and the words touch their spirits. I know it sounds lonely, but I was content with this life. It was my only way to deal with childhood trauma. The killings, the shootings, the people that have no honor. My rhyme book was my best friend. The ink that hit the surface would answer my many questions. I sacrificed human interaction. My craft was all I had. It was truly my life's passion. I felt better when I wrote down a tale or two, not realizing I'd be emotional.